Shalom Aleichem. Hi, my name is Yisrael Mendelson for Vasses Nayas. I'm here with Jonathan Greenstein of
Greenstein Antique Judaica Gallery. Nice to meet you.
Hi.
How are you doing today? Great.
This is a very interesting line of work that you are in, and I wanted you to share with the people at large your a little bit of yourself, and also how you got into such a line of parnasa like this.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming. We enjoy being part of Vasses Nayas. It's an incredible news website. I sign on to it between 3 and 5 times a day just to see what's going on in the Orthodox Jewish world. So thank you. Very simply put, I've been an antique Judaica collector and dealer and authenticator for the last 28 years. In August of this year, we decided to move our gallery from Brooklyn to right here in the heart of the Jewish community of Cedarhurst on Central Avenue, right across from not one, but 2 bagel stores. So you can get a bagel and then come in here and buy a pair of antique candlesticks for your favorite chassan and kala. Different things that we deal with is Jewish ritual art, everything from 1650 to 1938. Jewish ritual art, also known as Judaica, are any implements and objects that are used during a Jewish ceremony, whether it's from making kiddush or sanctifying a glass of wine on Friday night, to making Havdalah till the end of Shabbos and saying, all right, Shabbos is over, we're real sad. We're going to have to revive ourselves by smelling some besamim or spices, and the containers that they come in are usually very decorative and very old and worth a lot of money. Also, menorahs. You can go into a new store and buy a brand new sterling silver menorah for $500, $1,000, $10,000, $15,000. People don't realize that for similar and same pricing, you can buy something with an additional 200-300 years of Jewish history. That's what makes collecting antique Judaica just so unbelievably attractive. So we have a couple of things here we're going to discuss now. How does that work? Okay. First thing we're going to look at is a pair of candlesticks. They are not necessarily Jewish. All candlesticks are that, just candlesticks. But these were made in Vienna, in Austria, in 1922. They're very finely decorated. They're carved with little tiny flowers. If you were to go into a store and buy a brand new pair of candlesticks for your daughter-in-law, future daughter-in-law, to be a kala, you would probably spend about $2,000 to $3,000. You could buy something that's 110 years old with old world quality that's wrought by hand for about $1,500 or $1,200, depending on the size. Another set of candlesticks, these are a little bit smaller. These were also made in Vienna. Something like this would run about $800. If you were to buy a new pair of candlesticks that are just machine pressed out, you could probably spend upwards of $1,000. People don't realize that for the same amount of money, you get a lot of Jewish history.
But why is that? Can you explain?
Yeah, because they're just, things are just marked up so unbelievably high in the new silver market that everybody got to make money. By us, it comes from an estate. We put it out, and that's really the way it is. Some other things that we have are silver kiddush cups. It says Kos Yeshuas Esa B'Shem Hashem Ekra, and on top of the inscription are little tiny dots on some of the letters. We added up the dots, and it comes to the year 1862. It's kind of like a secret way of saying the year that it was made. The 12 mark on the bottom indicates that it was made in Poland. In the 19th century, and something like this as a collector's item is about $3,500. Without a Hebrew inscription on it, it would sell for between $500 and $600. With the Hebrew inscription, it becomes really Judaica, and the value is increased tenfold. Another example of a silver kiddush cup of old world quality. You have an eagle inscribed on one side, and you have a lion facing outward on the other side, with a small cartouche that says Kos Shel Kodesh. What does that mean? Does that mean it's used for Kiddush? No. What used to happen in the old country is that the Rebbes would find a favorite student or a favorite supporter, and they would give a couple of coins to the student. They would melt those coins down, add other silver, and make a Kiddush cup or another religious implement from it. So that's actually Kos Shel Kodesh. It's a holy object or holy implement. Once again, without the Hebrew inscription, as a 200-year-old cup, it's worth about $300 to $500. As is, it's worth anywhere between $3,000 and $5,000. We moved to a Hanukkah menorah. This was made in the Art Deco period, which was 1905 till World War II. Art Deco, I mean, it has very sleek lines, a little abstract design. The Jews in whatever country they lived in would take on the art form of whatever art was going on in the general culture. Right. So Art Deco was a prominent movement in Germany during the beginning of the 20th century. They made a menorah in Art Deco form. It's actually a very famous style. Many of these exist. These were made, this particular piece was made in Poland in the 1920s and sells anywhere between $2,000 to $5,000 because of the size. This piece itself sells by us for $3,000.
I was wondering if I could ask you, tell me about how the process of procuring some of these rare and special items. It must be what are the channels or the avenues that you pursue in order to retrieve, and also in order to, if people buy often, how do you maintain a supply? It must be a very rare and very limited market.
Yeah, that's actually quite true. Things come to us from one of several ways. Number one, we have an internet presence. Probably for 8 or 9 years. So when you Google Antique Judaica, we have probably close to 1,000 articles written on us. So if somebody has a piece of Antique Judaica that they want to buy or they sell, they look up Antique Judaica. We come up as the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and so on spot. So for the most part, most of those things come to us directly from estates. People, unfortunately, with assimilation so rampant in America, sometimes you'll have a grandchild of somebody that was Jewish, that has something from their grandfather, and they'd rather just cash it in for value. So that's number one. Number two, we buy things from collectors that have bought a better piece. For an example, we bought this Kiddush cup from a collector. He bought a little bit of a better one from a similar background. This piece is Dutch. And he traded this into us. We had sold this to him 5 or 6 years ago. So there's a tremendous recirculation between the collecting community. Thirdly, we buy things at auction all the time. When a non-Jewish specific auction happens, which is constantly, obviously, throughout America, we sign on different websites, and we see a piece of antique Jewish ritual art, we try to buy it. On our mailing list, we have about 1,000 collectors throughout the world that collect these antique Judaica objects. And whenever we get something special that we feel is appropriate for a special, for a particular collection, we will email them a picture, with a description and a price, and hopefully they like it.
So the general people that are circulating your store are generally collectors?
Yeah. Correct. Most of the business that that come here are collectors looking to add to their collection. Sometimes things like Kiddush cups and menorahs and candlesticks are utilitarian, meaning that somebody wants to come in and buy them to use it. But there's not too many people that would spend $6,000 on a Megillah that was made in Vienna about 120 years ago. This is an instance where if you were to buy a new one, you'd probably be able to get it for an eighth of this price.
$658 right on there.
We're now in five. Right, we're in 5771 now, so you could do the math. And this one's in its an original box, which is just gewaldig, as Shlomo would say. Right, this would sell to a collector, not to a user. So, like I said, most of the people that walk in here are people with an interest in starting to collect Judaica. We're the only place in the world that gives you a lifetime warranty of authenticity. Everything that we sell, we guarantee is authentic until the day they put me into a pine box. That's how secure we are in what we're doing. But for the most part, once again, a spice box like this, which was made in Lvov or Lemberg in 1806, would cost the collector about $5,000. You could buy a new Besama box for about $2,200. This is not really a utilitarian piece, but is more of a collector's piece.
Why is this not utilitarian? Because
it is utilitarian. I use a spice box like this in my house. Okay. But if you were just to buy a spice box, you wouldn't spend $5,000 just to have this one. We also have several pieces of American Jewish history. This is a presentation cup given from a grateful congregation to the Reverend Joseph Krauskopf in the 10th anniversary of his successful ministry from Philadelphia in 1897. We did some research on it. The rabbi was the rabbi of a Reformed temple in Philadelphia from about 110 years ago. This came to us through an estate dealer that must have cleaned out his grandson's estate because it's a pretty old piece. And something like this would retail for about $3,000. If we move a little bit closer over here, we have a silver teak, within the teak is a Sefer Torah. Obviously, the Sefer Torah is no longer kosher, right? But this came to us from the B'nai Moshe congregation, the B'nai Moshe congregation. Open it up in Bloomington Hills in Michigan. They used to originally were in Detroit and moved to Bloomington Hills, and when they moved, they closed their museum. So we're really essentially the only people that do this in America. They found us, Baruch Hashem, and we've represented their items since the beginning of the closing of the museums. This is one of the few pieces that we have left. But it's always very important when you're buying something like this to make sure you have good provenance, that it wasn't, obtained illegally, or such.
Had you two things? Have you ever generally had to deal with an interesting story behind trying to procure something like you just mentioned, where you had to go to some extra lengths in order to get something? Or second thing is also, I was wondering, maybe it's not connected right now, but I see you have paintings and sort of artwork on the wall. Are you connected with sort of presenting different forms of artwork, not just...
Yeah, well, Judaica encompasses really everything Jewish. We do have a lot of paintings here. It's not my particular area of specialty. My gallery director, Abe Kugielski, is a genius when it comes to paintings. He's off today. But it's really more of his division, as my expertise is silver and brass. So to answer your question, there's been a lot of very good stories. I'm flying down to Florida on February 3rd to go look at one Megillah that one lady who was just too old to photograph it. She drew a picture of this antique silver, what appears to be Bezalel Megillah. Bezalel is a school from 1906 to 1929 from Jerusalem. It was a school of art. It closed from 1929 to 1935 and then reopened. But the things that were made during that period are extremely rare and extremely valuable. And this Megillah seems to be very, very attractive and important. So I'm hopping on a plane to go visit her. When something becomes available, you run.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, you run.
Probably 5 or 10 other people that want to get there quickly.
Yeah, correct. But there's within the Judaica dealing community, it's really just us.
Wow. That's very, very interesting. And we wish you hatzlacha. And just one more question.
Sure.
How did you get into this line of work? You didn't say how did you as a child, as a young man, how did you?
Excellent question. I was 14 years old and thrown out of yeshiva. I went to public school, and I was free at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I got a job in an antique store on Kings Highway and East 17th Street. And the owner himself was not a Jewish individual, but he had a beautiful and sweet heart, and he felt it was very inappropriate to melt these things down for their scrap silver value. He allowed me to buy them from him at scrap silver value, and by the time I was 17 or 18 years old, I had boxes and boxes and boxes of the stuff in my parents' basement, and everything was just a natural, natural progression since then of buying, selling, right, and now it's 28 years later.
Hashem should bless you, and thank you for sharing this with us, and we hope to hear good news. We thank you here. Vavas is nice. Wish you all the best. Be well. Bye-bye.